Welcome to an hour of power. I am Keith Anthony Blanchard, spiritual teacher, musician, author of the best-selling book Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, and your host of Center of Light. Let's dive in. Welcome to Center of Light, everyone. Just had a power outage. Wow, when this stuff happens, I shut down. I shouldn't, but I do. It's just part of my dynamic. I don't like it, so I'm going to work on it a little better. Welcome to Center of Light, y'all. Center of Divine Unfoldment and Reinforcement. Strap in, my brothers and sisters, as we launch for inner space. All you astral nuts. Are you guys taking care of yourselves? The world is going to be noisy. It's going to get louder. It's going to get really, really loud. So you have to get really, really quiet to hear your guidance. It's loud. October. Ugly, beautiful mess October. And then we got November. We're not going to get into the political field. There's no need to. But these are just facts of the matter. Ground yourself. How do you ground yourself? Starts by intention to ground yourself. That's the halfway point. The other half is doing something to actually ground yourself. Walk outside barefoot. There are many ways. Get on YouTube, Google. Find your way. There's no right or wrong way. Just find what feels right and powerful to you. Before we bring my guest on today, Miss Nicole Swan. I'm a little in disarray, so I just posted a link to my bestseller, Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. I am going to be speaking in Melbourne, Florida, Halloween Day, as well as November 1st for a spiritual fair. I'm going to be the keynote speaker there. I'm really excited about that. I just posted the link in the forum. You can use that to purchase Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul if you have not already, but also, if you have purchased it and you read it, right now would be a phenomenal time to leave some reviews. That's all I really have to say. I want to get down to this interview with my new friend, Nicole Swan. Let me tell you a little bit about Nicole. I'm dancing over here. Everything was shut down, so I'm turning things. Oh my God. Let me get her bio and we get right into it. Nicole says she is an intuitive channeler. She says, I can see you. I see things that you're most ready to shift, that your higher self is bringing forth. Things your friends may be noticed, but are scared to tell you. Things that seem obvious, but are just so hard to see when you are so deeply lost in it all. I understand that. I could bring it to you with clarity, she says. I help guide you in the most loving and supportive way possible. A healing and clarity to guide the path to everything you want and desire. I am intuitively guided to bring forth the messages that you are ready to receive, guidance for any life questions you are having, and clarity for the next steps to take. I am now posting how you can find her on social media. So go to her work, stomp all over her page, leave a big stank, let her know you exist. She would love to hear from you. She's a lovely lady. I just met her here in the radio green room. She's very clear. One thing that attracted me to her and bringing her on Center of Light Radio is her level of clarity, her simple wisdom. Mind you, it's powerful. Hold on, you see. Hello, Angel.
Hi, Keith. Thank you so much for having me. What a wonderful intro.
How are you, dear? Things are well in Encinitas, California?
Things are very well here. I was just jokingly saying maybe we were just too powerful and that's what shut down your electronics just before we came live. I'm glad you were able to get back and running.
I mean, literally, the clock started ticking when I got it up and I called you. How's your weather there?
It is sunshiny and beautiful. I hate to rub it in for those that are having snow, but it's never really a bad day here in Southern California.
Yeah, right. So you want to just dive right in?
Yes, I do.
All right. So what brought me to you, one, was your level of clarity as a teacher and as someone who's just truly connected within themselves, above and beyond all the other stuff. But now that we had your bio and we introduced you to everyone in Center of Lightland, tell us about this death changing event that transpired with you when you were in Hawaii.
Yes, it was quite a life-changing event, to say the least. I came back a completely different person. So I had what's commonly known as a near-death experience. I died. I crossed over, I remember it, and I came back. I came back still in the same physical form and still aware of the life I had previously, but I came back with an awareness that was not really completely different, but just more than what I had before. It's taken me a few years to figure myself out and go on a self-exploring journey to really realize what has transpired within my being. But yeah, before the near-death experience that I had, I was very much self-service. My life was very much in the ego. It was all about the things and accomplishing and about money and jobs and very much in self-service. I was a kind person, but I was a people pleaser, had no real self-worth, self-love, and was seeking it from outside material. The near death changed that. I got to cross over to a space that is pure love. Pure divine love is the best way that I mostly can explain it. And once you tap into that, I was able to remember and bring that back into the physical realm with me. And I've still had to go through experiences in my human body to embody the knowing. So I only teach things that I've actually gone through and experienced myself. But I brought back a sense of self love, a sense of compassion, of oneness that, um, yeah, I just am so blessed to get to help other people with that knowing now. But it did. I came back a different person. I've lost friends because I've changed. They don't recognize me. And I've gained a whole new world of new ones. And so it's been quite an experience to say the least.
I don't know how much that you want to. I don't know how much you want to divulge. You were in an accident.
Mhm.
Can you describe what you choose to from the moment you saw this coming, or did it happen without your awareness? And what was it like to leave the body, and just all those questions, that someone who has a little tail wagging like a puppy dog with curiosity would like to know. What is this experience like, this transition, when it first started to happen for you?
Those are fantastic questions, and I believe I will spend my life telling it, and it still won't get explained in the best details, but I try. I have a YouTube channel and I talk about these often. When I crossed over, I Keith has said, I was on a moped in Hawaii, which I had no business being on, and I didn't have a helmet on, and I got plowed over by a vehicle, a drunk driver. I often say the soul leaves the body right before trauma happens. So the experience itself, I did not have. My physical body went through an experience. Witnesses saw the Jeep hit me, saw my body crawling out from under it. I was not aware of any of that. I was already gone back to the what I often call the all that is. I did not come back into my body until the next day when I woke up. I broke my neck, I had stitches in my head, and I woke up in the hospital already put back together. But I don't do too much research for other near death experiencers, but I have met a couple people in person who live here in the same town as I do who've had similar experiences. And I do only teach from my own experience, but the soul leaves the body before the trauma happens. It's often like you'll hear stories that people are in the hospital and they're hovering above and watching doctors work on their body in the hospital, things like that. Your soul doesn't have to stay in and experience the trauma. So I didn't. I barely remember up to 20 minutes before the accident. Um, the crossing over itself is the most beautiful part. Dying is very easy and it's very beautiful. It's very much the same as when you woke up this morning from your dream. It's very loving. And the space I went to, I do believe there's different realms and there's different processes because you can have a hand in creating what the experience is going to be personally for when you're crossing over. Some people want to have the experience of loved ones being there, welcoming them to the light. Some people prefer, if you have a Christian background, perhaps Jesus, God will be there. For me, I just went back to the all that is. There is a bit of blending, my guides tell me, where our human mind is creating the experience and then the experience you're actually having, there's a blend. So you are a creator in sort of the experience you're having on your way to the other side. Me personally, I just woke up into pure love. This space was formless. I was awareness, but I had no form. Like right now, you can look down and see your legs or your hands and be aware that you're awareness, but through a body. I was awareness, but with no form in a space of no form. And the best I can describe is that it's everything and nothing simultaneously. It's just all knowing and just love is never going to be a word big enough to express it, but it's the only human word we have that's comparable today. If it were a color, it's soft pink. If it were a feeling, it's like when you get into a nice warm hot tub and you're like, ah, or a hug from your mother, it just feels amazing. But I was awareness. I remembered my life as Nicole. I could remember my sole purpose up to and including my life as Nicole. So I often teach your soul will continue on. You're just here having experiences, and your soul is, it's like a school, and you have lessons that you want to learn each lifetime, and you're eternal. So I remembered my soul lessons up until this point, and I had a conversation about whether or not I was going to choose to come back into my body. I remember I was done. I was like, absolutely not. Being human was tough. I'm over it. Life was hard. I was at a pretty low place in my life right before the accident happened, and I did not want to return. And I will tell you, the other side is so loving. There's no fear. There's no worry, there's no doubt. None of those negative emotions exist on the other side. I did not want to come back. But I was told if I did choose to come back, and I was shown lots of different potentials that I could come back in as, that I wouldn't continue the same, that it would be a new spiritual awareness. And I said, okay, if it's going to be that, I'll come back in, but I'm not coming back to continue. I'm already done. And yeah, like I said, I'll spend a life trying to teach all of these knowings, but the other side's very easy. The best I've found to describe it is like this lifetime, your current lifetime that you're having right now, me as Nicole, you as Keith, is the dream. And you're going to have lots of dreams. And when you die, it's just a waking up to remembering the bigger part of the all that you are, that connection to God, oneness, universal consciousness, whatever you feel comfortable using. I often use the word God. Um, and it's amazing. It's incredible.
I had a guest a few weeks ago, and she was also a near death experiencer, and she said exactly the same thing. She said right before she got hit, she was pulled, and she had a choice. She can stay in the body if she wanted, or she said, well, why in the hell would I want to stay in that meat suit while something's going to just bang me? That's very comforting to know that we get taken. But she didn't just describe it exactly like you do, and I'm sure it's the same thing. It's just a different perspective. She said that, and I'm sure I have, many people have, when we get in those situations when time slows down. Did you have that experience to where time just completely changed automatically when this was about to settle itself upon you?
I was aware that there is no time on the other side, which is hard to explain as well, but
Yeah,
I'm
right.
very aware that there's only the now. hmm You can
And
actually choose to come back with different time. Like you can choose to come back before the accident happened, choose to come back. I could have gone, lived a completely different lifetime for 100 years, and then come back and continued the story as Nicole. You can, I often say it's almost like Netflix. Like all the movies already exist, and you're holding a remote and you can play, pause, watch a different movie, go back, rewind, go back into a movie. It's like that. Your soul can choose which movie, which lifetime it wants to go in, and at what point it wants to stop. It's quite fascinating.
pass me the remote.
You've got it, believe it or not.
So when this began to come down, did you find yourself here and then automatically there, or did you have a transition period where you saw yourself moving through the said tunnel, or did you have a flying sensation, which is often said to have happened, or did you find yourself in point A and then point B?
Yeah, a lot of people that I've met have had that experience. I was just straight there and straight back. No fun slide or anything back in for me that a couple of my friends have had. There have been stories of the tunnel or the light, but I was just awareness there and then awareness back in my body. No transition period for me. I did have what may be considered a life review. There's no judgment on the other side. Once you cross over, you're going to look at your life, all the decisions you've made, all the interactions you've had. And if you want to call it judgment, you will sort of look at the choices you made and the experiences you had and then decide, okay, I want to continue these lessons or I want to change this up. But there's no outside of you judging you whether you performed okay or not, whether you're going to heaven or hell or things like that, which are ideas I was taught growing up very Christian in the Bible Belt. Um, you're not going to have that. But I had a review not only of my life up until now, but I got to see lots of different potentials that I could come back in as. So I had that experience of getting to say, okay, am I going to choose to come back but missing a leg? Am I going to choose to come back but paralyzed? Am I going to choose to come back but with remembrance or not remembrance of the accident, and so on? Billions of potentials. And I came back in, but it was just an instant awakening. It wasn't any kind of transition period for me personally.
All right, so Nicole is going cosmic, all right? Now she's conscious, cosmic conscious, so to speak. She's aware of awareness. Now what happens? People show up, guides, and being talked to, or how was this for you?
Yes. So my personal experience, again, is the only thing I can really teach from. Lots of people have had different experiences. Mine is I was awareness, and I did have a conversation with an energy outside of self. That was my back and forth of, am I coming back in? Am I not? Here are the parameters, but there was no form. So to this day, I'm still not completely certain of that energy, other than it was either myself, higher self, God, a guide that I was conversing with that was helping me make the decision to come back in. What is interesting is once I came back in, that's when, on a physical level, here in 3D reality, I began hearing voices, having the messages and the connection. At first, it started with me just having an internal knowing. And then, it's sort of like a muscle you work in a gym. As I practiced with what's going on with me, or had like minded friends who were psychics or mediums and used to hear energy outside of their physical body, they could help me really learn to differentiate when I'm feeling different energies. Like, this one feels more angelic realm, this one is more interdimensional being realm, and I really have the different personalities of the energies that I'm connecting in with, and whether or not it's a loved one who's crossed over. The spirit realm is a completely different realm than an interdimensional being or an archangel. So that actually for me is when it started happening, was more here in the physical, not so much on the other side, because when I was crossed over, you were all things. There is no polarity at the top. Like, if you want to call it God, which is a word I've been using lately. I used to be resistant to the word God because I was really Christian growing up and then got away from that. But I've come back around to the word God, for me, meaning that universal consciousness, whatever that energy is that makes your fingernails grow or the sun rise every day, that's bigger than you, whatever your higher power is. For me, I use the word God. Um, I've lost track what I was saying. That happens to me
Take your
sometimes.
time. You know what? I can tell you when I get into a role or the zone,
Mm-hmm.
when we start playing in that arena, sometimes words don't show up because there are no words there. Words happen down here in the lower strata.
I get
And
the
when I do
download.
interviews, I did an interview a day before yesterday, day before yesterday, and it's a major interview and big audience. So I mean, I'm not trying to showboat. I'm trying to stay in my game and just get real flighty and things just fleet right through me. Did you find your place here?
Yeah. Energy comes in and I take that on, and then I fumble. There's like a lag to create words to express the energy that I'm taking in. Um, but I didn't remember my place of what we were speaking of just before. No. So it'll come back to me shortly, I'm sure. Mhm.
Any more happened while you were there that we would be interested, curious,
Oh,
excited to know about?
thank you. That is what cued me back in. There's just God. There's all that is, which is everything and nothing. And so there is no polarity. There is no duality. And then it's once we come back down into this body, this 3D reality, that's when we start to have up and down, left and right, good and bad. We define things, we separate things. There is duality, polarity. So when you cross over, you go back to the all that is. You realize and really understand the knowing when people say we're all one, or there is only one, when you start talking about that oneness, unity, consciousness. And I was able from that space of God to see how we're all interwoven, how you're me, how we're all just different aspects of the one. I try to teach, it's often like we have different cells in our body. So your big toe, the cell in that is not the same as the cell inside my hair. They're not aware of each other and they're having completely different experiences, but they're still part of the one whole. We are very much the same, where you and I are different pieces having separate experiences, but we're all part of the same whole. So once you cross over and you go back up to that all that is, if that's where you choose to go, Some people do choose to stay momentarily in like a spirit realm and be a loved one who's a guide assisting, loved ones here. Again, remember, there's no time. So on the other side, you could stay, say you want to stick around with your children and be a guardian angel and assist them throughout their lifetime. It's a whole lifetime for them, but only a second for you on the other side. There's different places you can choose to go, but otherwise, once you're back at God, at the all that is, there is nothing else. There is no separation, no polarity at all.
That is just delicious. That's like extra mayo on a fine sandwich. um, from your sharing so far, most everything that took place for you, at least from what I'm picking up from you, was an awareness, but a knowing. Did you have any or a lot of visual stimuli? Like some people come back and they say they see crystal cities and mountains 20 times higher than we have here on Earth. Was this part of your grand design that you chose to experience when you went back home?
No, again, because crystal cities or different beings, that involves polarity, right? Because if you're a blue alien with 3 fingers in a crystal city, that means there has to also not be that, or a place where someone.
So you went so past that. You have been saying God, but and all that is, but many people, including myself, take that. Well, I'm in heaven now, so I'm with God. I didn't know exactly how up the hierarchy you actually went. Wow.
Yeah, but if you say that you're with God, even that means you're separate from God.
There's something other than me that I'm with.
There's no awareness. There just is an all-knowing. Right. It really was all-knowing, everything and nothing simultaneously, which again is so hard to create into words for human, try to bring it into this realm. But now that I'm back here in my human body, I'm able to take that experience, that knowing, and that is the major thing that changed. The main result of my near-death experiences before the near-death, I was a seeker. I was questioning. I started on a bit of a path. I hadn't made it very far. I had discovered people like Wayne Dyer or Esther Hicks, who channels a collective called Abraham, but I didn't quite understand channeling or what that meant. I definitely wasn't interested in like crystals or tarot or energy or Reiki, and none of that existed in my reality. When I crossed over, I came back now into a physical body with a knowing, and that's what I'm trying to teach. And I feel like that's what so many people are on a spiritual journey for. There's a difference for me in spirituality versus self-awareness. And if you're on a journey of self-awareness, that connectedness that a lot of people reach through meditation and different forms, there's so many different ways to reach that space. It's that knowing that I was blessed to be able to come back in and have embodied, so that instead of a seeker, I have this peace and calm and knowing of the love that we all are, the connection we actually are. Doesn't mean I'm not still human and I have, contrast happen or something, trigger me. And then I have to look at it and learn and grow to embody the physical, because just because my head knows it from the experience doesn't mean I've embodied it just yet. So ever since my accident, I'm now going through things in life almost rapid fire. Every day it's like, what's next? What's next? And life just brings me anything and everything so that I can take my knowing and embody it, lock it in, and then I teach from that space. But it's quite a journey.
Let me share with you a story, something that happened to me some years ago, and I want to see if it parallels with you or if it resounds with you. Many years ago, I'm having this I was hyper lucid. I usually have most of my cosmic experiences when I lose awareness of the body and the mind. That way, the real me is free, so I can fly around, if you will, to use the word, and do what I want to do. Well, I went through this cosmic wormhole. I was moving at Godspeed, taking huge universal turns and just going, oh my God, I remember this so well. I just so love doing this particular thing. It's just been a long time. And when I came out of this wormhole, I was in the void. There was nothing except me. And in this place, it was pitch black. But my awareness is what gave this place illumination. Is this what happened to you?
Yeah, it sounds very similar.
It was just space, and the only thing that existed was me. And even though it was dark, like you might imagine being in outer space.
Were you aware that you had a body?
I was aware that I had a body a gazillion light years away laying on a bed.
Yeah, exactly. That does sound like my experience, because I was aware, again, remember, I was aware of my life as Nicole. I was aware of other lives I had had on my soul journey, but I was not in that space. I was bigger than, I was more. I was awareness of more, of the all that is. So yeah, that sounds very similar. And a lot of people can go to that space. I try to teach you do not have to have a near-death experience to reach that knowing. Some people use psychedelics. I have friends who've used something called DMT that they say that creates a near-death experience, or mushrooms. I'm not sure. I've not really experienced with, experimented with many things like that. But meditation takes a lot of people there. There's so many different ways that you can connect to this state of being, because you are the all that is. You just don't remember. We're oftentimes, I try to say, it's almost like we're playing a video game. We're in this avatar body, in this pretend sort of hologram matrix, playing a game. And so you forget the wholeness that you are, and you come down in thinking you're this separated piece. But you can wake up through whatever means works for you to remember that connection. And a lot of people do that, like you said, through lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is incredible. That is a space where you can sort of take that awareness out of your body and remember the wholeness that you are right now. It's not that you're not wholeness right now. You just don't remember because you're viewing in a Netflix movie. When you're sitting there watching a movie, you're so in it, it's like you're really there, right? It's like you're crying with the characters because you're really in it. And then the movie ends and the lights come on and you remember the wholeness that you are, and you're like, oh, that was fun, and you go on about your day. That's sort of like what you're doing right now.
I would love to use that as an analogous, in an analogous way. This is what's happening on Earth right now. It just so happens that COVID-19 and all this ridiculous nonsense that is just belching itself everywhere. Just remember, you're in a theater right now watching a horror flick. Go get your popcorn, sit back, enjoy the movie. Don't get attached to the movie unless you really love the movie so much you want to guffaw and laugh and you want to cry. Get some tissue, honey, pass me the tissue. Whatever you want to do, it's all good. But if you want to quicker fall inside of yourself enough to where you actually live to these magical, glorious realities, just watch the movie.
Because we get to, like, I've had people say, why would I choose that? Why would I choose, if I'm in a space that's pure love, all that is, why would I choose to come in and be in a body that has cancer or physical pain or experiencing something like COVID? This is terrible. There's suffering. Why would I? And my guides once were like, why would you go to a haunted house? Why do humans want to go and walk through a haunted house where things are going to grab you and scare you? Because it's temporary. You're going to have a good time, but it's not real. And so when our soul comes into this body, we remember when we're choosing to come in that it's not real, that this is just a dream that we're controlling so that our soul can learn. And it'll do anything and everything to sort of guide you on those. I mean, you come in with sort of, I want to say, some people say contracts. That sounds a bit too firm for me because you do have free will. So it's not like you're contracted and you're locked in. But you have kind of guidelines like, I would really like to learn compassion this lifetime, or I really want to understand self-reliance. So if I want to learn self-reliance, I chose to come in with parents where I have a father that abandons when I'm little. No better way to learn self-reliance than have a mother who's always working, a father who's not around, and then I'm having to learn, right? So you do kind of choose parameters, but you have free will once you're in here. Now, if you start to stray too far, it's okay. There's no time. You're eternal. You can't really get it wrong because there's no one judging you. But your higher self, who's holding the remote, will kind of guide you along the way. And so they'll put roadblocks or things like that to kind of steer you. And oftentimes we look at these roadblocks in life and think, life's making it hard. And it's like, no, life's guiding you to what you actually know that you want. You just don't, realize what's happening from this avatar perspective.
We are so much alike. I use analogies just like that. Why would you choose to go on a roller coaster that scares the bejesus out of you? We can go on the peaceful Ferris wheel. Because we are eternal. We've been doing the eternal dance for so long. We got bored. I mean, joy, joy, joy. I mean, how much cheesecake can a person eat? Give me 3 bites of cheesecake and I'm done. I can't eat anymore. It's delicious. It's divine, if you want to use the word. Cheesecake is rich. And so, you go play in the land of forever, and you've been doing it forever. It's like, man, I'm going to go have some trouble. I want to go break my toe somewhere.
It's so true. I love that you're saying that. I say that often as well. I do. Like, you get to, and it's boring. It's like, it's not that it's boring, it's all knowing, but we come in because we get to, because you have to have a physical body in order to feel pain, in order to process emotions. You can't do that outside of this physical body. So you have an awareness of emotions, but you haven't gotten to actually physically experience them unless you come into a body. It's like if
I was
someone
going to ask that question, Nicole. I was going to ask that. Thank you for that. Because down here we have emotions, and up there we have awareness. And I was going to actually bring up: do we have any sort of feeling base at all? And you described that very well just now. So we have an awareness of the emotion, but we don't actually get to feel them.
Yeah, it's just love is what you'll have. It's so high vibrational that those lower, dense pain, worry, anger just cannot exist there. It doesn't. And so it's not that it doesn't exist, it's just not in that reality space. So I mean, someone tells you what an orange tastes like, you can conceptually understand, but until you actually hold, peel, smell, eat that orange, you don't really understand. So the cosmic joke, I almost came back into my body laughing, was we get to, like, humans don't realize there's nothing that serious going on. It's just a blink of an eye in all of eternity that your soul's going to experience this one lifetime, and you get to. So as much pain as it seems that having a lifetime of chronic illness or something like that would be a hindrance, and it feels like 100 years is forever, it's really nothing in the grand scheme of eternal. Plus, you never know what your personal soul journey is wanting to express this lifetime. And say someone has the tragedy and the heart pain of losing a child. Say your child gets hit by a drunk driver and you're heartbroken. Why would you choose to experience that? Except you then go out and teach seminars or become a TEDx speaker that changes the lives of so many people because of your experience. Your soul knew and wanted to come in and be a part of that change, of that upliftment. So the pain and loss of a child who, to be honest, is, I hate to say, not even real, because on the other side, you're still alive and you're like, hey, pop in, be my son for 10, 15 years, and then pop out so that I can have the experience. That soul gets to have the experience of, having a shorter life. You want to experience anything and everything that's possible. So
everything always works in harmony. Yes, everything just is always working together, expanding, updating into greater possibilities. So everything is a finely greased machine.
Yep.
What was re-entry like for you? Did you experience a slamming, or not necessarily all that spiritual hype, but did you feel it? You just woke up, and what was your first thought? Did you go, oh my God, or was it, what was it?
Confusing, because I had head trauma. I took a really serious blow to the head and had stitches all the way back. So I had a lot of brain swelling. So when I first woke up, I was very confused. I was in the hospital, had a neck brace on, and my phone was laying on my chest. The best reason I can assume is because maybe since I was out, that they didn't have a way to contact any loved ones. So they had my phone with me in case I were to wake up. Phones have passcodes now, so it's not like paramedics can open it and go through it. I woke up, I was very confused. I held out my phone and I took a selfie so that I could see what was going on with me. But my brain, I often joke, I was like Dory on Finding Nemo. I had very little short-term memory, and I was on a loop that just kept repeating. So if I had just met you, I wouldn't remember. 5 minutes later, I'd be like, hi. You'd be like, Nicole, I just met you. I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I don't remember. So I had some brain swelling for quite a while. I began sending that photo to everyone I knew in Messenger. I think it was like an SOS of like help, which must now have been very scary for a lot of my loved ones to receive. Apologies, the sun is setting and it's getting very bright. But for a good several months, I had some brain swelling. I couldn't process a lot of things, like multiple conversations, a lot of light, a lot of sound. So it's not like I immediately woke up and was this, person that I am today. I had a pretty dark 6 months or so of staying inside, not being able to process a lot of things, just letting that swelling go down, a lot of healing. I broke my neck. I was in a neck brace for several months. I had to have a lot of care, like I couldn't bathe myself, things like that, because I couldn't raise my arms. I'm like 99% back now.
How long ago was this, Angel?
It's been 4 years.
Wow, you look fresh to me.
Thank you. I'm going to try to scoot this back just a hair to see
Yeah, do
you.
you think? Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio. Enjoying this time with Nicole Swan. We're talking about her near-death experiences. We went through all of that as far as the actual experience. Now she's back on Earth. So we're going to talk about some of her gifts and what she does as a teacher to help other people become greater people. And so welcome back, Nicole. I'm glad you changed the sun. The light is blinding. Did you see any light? No, you said it was just emptiness. So let me ask you this. Now Nicole's back. She's getting her groove on, getting her walk on, so to speak, and you're moving forward. The voices begin to show up. Do you identify these voices as anything other than source? Or did they come with a little bit of personality, named, John, or I'm your spirit guide named Tim, or any of that kind of fluffy stuff?
Yes. So originally it just started with, I would just know messages for people. I caught myself saying, I have a message for you. And I know this is a bit strange because I don't know you that well. Would it be okay if I share it with you? But it was just more of an internal knowing. The more my brain swelling went down and I really started to get clear and back in my body, I connected with a certain energy that felt very familiar, but I now classify as interdimensional. It's a race of beings that I often feel on my lower right hand side who called themselves the others. When I questioned why they're calling themselves that, they wanted to stay ambiguous with me for a while, because if they were to say they were Pleiadian or something of that nature, I would already have a preconceived notion of who the Pleiadians were, and they didn't want me to go there. So I had the others, who were my main source of information.
My God, Nicole, that's what I call these people, others. I'll call them
Is
the
it
others. Yes, please
amazing?
continue. I just, just please continue.
I'm excited to learn more about you and develop this friendship after the show. But yeah, so the others, they're interdimensional beings that are really funny. They're much funnier than I am, and they tend to be my main source of connection. The more I started getting in and doing work, I work in three ways. I have an internal knowing. I hear, but it's not audible. It's just a voice inside that I hear, but it's not my voice. And it's often words that I wouldn't use or opinions I wouldn't have. So I know that it's separate from me. And then I also see, but again, not with my eyes. It's more just an internal vision. If you were to close your eyes right now and picture an apple, anyone can do that. That's how I see images. So I often have my main connection through the others. Um, the more my skills have developed over the years, because I began channeling for friends, I was very scared to start doing it for other people. I kept it very secret. It's very personal and vulnerable. You have to remember, I lived an entire life not aware of anything metaphysical. So all of a sudden to open up to a world of like chakras and crystals and energy and beings, I didn't even know if beings existed. I didn't even care, let alone think about whether or not they existed. Now I'm talking to them. This was quite an intense experience to go under. And so it took a while to really relax and get to where I am now, where I trust the information I get, I trust the information I'm hearing, and I trust myself enough to bring it through for others. So once I began doing readings, I held a retreat where we took 12 women down to Mexico, and I began channeling for people in a group. That's when I realized I could start tapping into other energies as well. And now on my left side is where I typically feel a higher, just more loving frequency. Not that the others aren't loving, but it's just a very different energy that I now realize is more of an angelic space that I tap into. But to be honest, the more and more I go on this path, the more blended it all just becomes, because the more you start connecting to the energy on the other side, you really realize we as human beings are the ones defining and compartmentalizing. And the further in you go and connect, it's all just one. Now it can split or have different faces or energy. Energy or spirit will show up in whatever form it needs to come to you. So if you're not comfortable with angels, it'll show up as a spirit animal if that makes you feel more comfortable. If you're not comfortable with aliens, it can show up as an angel if that's more comfortable for you. But really, on the other side, there's no form, it's energy. And so it really, I used to tell people in readings in my early beginning, who's your spirit guide? Okay, your spirit guide's a Pleiadian, name this and this and this. And I had all these definitions. And now I've really sort of started getting away from that and just bringing messages through and not so much defining who and what. Now, if it's a loved one, say it's your grandmother you really wanted to connect with, I can define that. Or I
Right.
may say if it's, interdimensional, or if it's relative, like maybe it's really important for you to understand there's a Lyran present because, for some reason you're connecting in with that specifically and it's going to help you in this current lifetime. Otherwise, I'm slowly pulling less and less into you know, the labeling, the compartmentalizing, the polarity, all of that. Mhm.
Same thing for me when I had my awakening many years ago and I was cracked open like an egg. It was like everyone was waiting in a telephone booth, a payphone booth, to use the phone just to get in Keith's ear. I'm like, y'all need to shut up. I can't do this. I mean, I had people come in, and I said, look, I understand that people are gathering around because they see an opening and they want to pass them, whatever, however it works on that level of loved ones and masters and whoever. At least from my experience, they were plentiful. And then finally one day I said, okay, I don't care who comes in, everybody come in, but y'all speak as one person, one voice, not five, just going at me. But yeah, I had a period in my life where the labels were important. They were very useful for what I needed it for. And sometimes like you, I still use the label if I feel it beneficial for the person. Or sometimes I don't even go in there and say, this is some intuition I have. And I'm sure that you probably, like me, when you do work with people, especially for myself, when I do spiritual readings for people, I don't tell them their future. I will never do that unless something inside of me says, you need to divulge this, Keith, or you're not going to sleep for a month. Then I will tell you. But I keep it always open ended. I'm going to say, you need to be careful in 2 weeks because you can be in a very serious situation. It looks like a car wreck. You never tell people that nonsense because 2 weeks from now, they're driving down the road and they remember what you said. And they're driving nervous, and now it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. And then they go around telling people, oh my God, Keith was such an amazing psychic. He told me this thing was going to come. I would rather say to someone, I see some potential in your future, that some things may come about that might be a block for you. I'd like to help move you around that. So I let them make the choices because even the good things that we tell people, we can actually be limiting them to the greatest possibility if we just gave them simple guidance how to achieve what it is they want.
1,000%. I actually, when I first woke up, didn't understand channeling, psychics, mediums, and I gave my power away. I did a couple sessions with intuitives because remember, before my accident, I wasn't even into any of this. So I never would have gotten a reading. I got a couple readings from a channel and some psychics, and the information I was giving, I thought they were tapping into all knowing. And then what they told me was truth. So I held it as truth. Now my state of awareness realizes energy is there. And if you tap into it and I tap into it, it's got to come through our own personal filters. So we could take the same energy and you're going to tell someone different than I am, right? Based on our judgments, our own life experiences. And so, one, the messages you get are through their own filters. So I always teach question everything and anything you're told. If it resonates, take it. And if it doesn't, leave it, because at the end of the day, trust yourself. Don't give your power away to people who are doing readings ever. Second of all, much like you, I often stay away from, I tell people when we do a reading, I am not a psychic, I'm not a medium. Now, sometimes loved ones will come through, but it's just not the realm I prefer to work in. And second of all, I don't want to give predictive information either because timelines can change. There's billions of potentials, and you knowing your future can alter it. And so then I'm right or I'm wrong, or, I've had psychics tell me something was going to happen and I held on to that. And then when it didn't, I was heartbroken or mad or angry. It's just not, in my perspective, in someone's benefit. It's fun as long as you keep it for entertainment purpose only to maybe get a psychic reading. But for the most part, I try to stay away from that in my own personal readings. If I do a reading for someone, it's more just the best way I can describe is we have all these different threads. You have different soul purposes that you're wanting to come in and experience, and energies show up over and over. The lesson will show up over and over until you realize it, face it, and then it transmutes and you never face it again. So say you have, an energy from your mother and you never faced it as a child, you stuffed it down. Well, then later you get a job and your boss starts treating you exactly the same way as your mother used to, and it's triggering you, but you don't face it. You just quit your job and you stuff it down. Well, then you start dating someone and that energy starts showing up in the same way, right? It will follow you and follow you until you find it, recognize it, and go, oh, I'm being asked to love myself or to set healthy boundaries or whatever the case may be. You do that, that energy is transmuted. You've now brought that home and you expand. You'll face new contrasts, but never the same one. You've learned that lesson. You've aced that level of the video game, right? At the end of every video game, there's a big bad guy. You face it, you beat it, you go up to the next level. You never have to go down again. The levels are never ending. So for me, I can see those threads. I can see, if we talk about what's going on in your life, what it's trying to get you to see. So I help people with that. I try to empower people, teach them how to connect to their own intuitive guidance. I'm not really here to tell you your future, tell you what to do. I'm here to help guide you to your own knowing so that you can discover that I'm no more special than you are. We all have the ability to connect into that divine guidance, that, all knowing. And we're all here to do that for ourselves, because that's what's empowering, not having someone, if you pay me for a reading, you're always going to have to pay me every time you need something. Keep coming to me, keep coming to me. I don't want that. A successful client for me, I just help you a couple times and you go within for yourself, for your own connection.
What else is there? I love it. And in fact, I can't stand the word psychic. It's been so perverted and bastardized. It's just some spiritual woo-woo and bling-bling people just throw around. I stay away from it. I really don't lean into it at all. And I love your position of just truly caring about the person that you're working with versus
I don't want to bash or bad the word psychic, because we're all in different places in our lives and all roles are necessary and it helps people, so wherever people are intuitively guided to seek their next step is important and plays a role. And like I said, going to those psychics who gave me information and then I held on to it and it didn't happen actually taught me a beautiful lesson in learning to trust myself instead of seeking outside myself. So I needed those psychics to exist in order for me to have that level of awareness. So all roles are necessary and important. And so I'm thankful for any way that someone's here to flow energy or to help others.
Yeah, I just don't like the word assigned to me. So what is your passion? You laid out a bunch of beautiful things, this whole experience up until this point. I'm sure it's going to get even more juicy for you in the very near future, especially because you're going to be needed. We're all needed. I get all that. But speaking about you, because you're in Center of Light Radio, your power, your level of understanding, your experience, which is everything else is inherent in this experience, this package that you were given, this beautiful gift that many people don't have or have the opportunity to have. We take it and we go and that's it. Well, we come back, or if we need to or want to. But the point is, you had a blessed opportunity to be a part of both worlds twice. What is one of your favorite things that you love doing?
My passion is ever evolving. So one thing I learn is to stay in the now and follow the breadcrumbs, but be open to what's next. So if someone's to ask me what the big picture is down the road, I have no idea, but it's changing all the time right now. My passion for the last few years has been making the videos. I come on YouTube every week or on Facebook Live and I talk for an hour, just whatever wants to come through, whatever teaching, and I have hundreds of videos, and that was my passion. And now that's changing. I actually on Tuesday said I may stop doing the lives. I'm still going to post videos, but I just wrote a book. So the book is becoming my new passion. I didn't know I was going to write a book. People have told me you're going to write a book. And I thought, no, I'm not interested. I hate to write. That's why I make videos. And then a friend of mine held a really amazing book writing retreat that last weekend. I sat down and did, and it just flowed out of me. I wrote an entire book and I didn't even know that was something that felt so good to get out of me. And I'm excited. I've still got to edit and publish the whole thing that you've gone through. But this is becoming my new passion, something along this line. I still enjoy doing sessions. I do private readings for people, and that brings me a lot of joy as well. But I've created a class Monday and Tuesday nights where I just have a Zoom room space and you come in and I'm just there. So everybody comes in, you can ask questions, I channel answers. A lot of the people who come in the class are also intuitive. And so we all just become like-minded family, friends, and we help each other out. So that's really been a passion for me. A couple of nights a week, I'm just in there with a group of, a lot of the same people come in every time and we talk about aliens or, other dimensions, or we'll talk about, I hate wearing a mask at work, anything and everything that comes up in your life. And that's really been amazing. So for right now, that's my current passion. Who knows if you ask me tomorrow.
What is the feeling that occupies your body when you're doing that thing that you just described that you like doing so well?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
It is
I know.
unbelievable. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
feeling it right now because even just
Yes.
being here and getting to talk about it, you're flowing that energy. So I often say it's almost selfish when I'm, channeling for someone or doing a session for them. The energy's for them, but I'm getting to experience it and enjoy the benefits as well. It just feels, it's buzzing. I feel very, almost like caffeinated or alive or, jittery after because it's so intense, but it just feels really exciting, really happy, really loving. It feels amazing. It's very
For
blissful.
me, it feels truly like a lift. If I'm sitting here and I become aware of my body, oh, this is Keith sitting in a desk chair, and I'm very hyper focused on my body so I can feel it. But when I do my presentations, this is not here. I have another microphone because I'm from South Louisiana, so I talk with my hands and I like I'm an Italian, and I get very into it. And something else begins to happen, and that something else is the space rather. I'm trying, by not trying, to just simply be in that space all the time. And so it's that space, that feeling, or that whatever that is that you and I are speaking about right now, that just truly brings me back every time. And knowing it with every session, I'm just going to expand a little greater into that and begin to integrate that and one day graduate that.
I mean, I've had days you can actually see in some of my videos where maybe I'm tired, but I come live at 5 every Tuesday night. So at 5 o'clock, I got to be ready to go. And life does what life does. So maybe 10 minutes before I'm live, something's happened. I'm stressed. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do it. I turn on that camera. I start talking live, and it's almost within minutes. You can just see such a shift. And I'm in my zone and I'm flowing and I'm happy and I feel amazing after. And so whatever that is that I get to bring into my body is life-giving. Absolutely.
What would you like to leave us with? Final thought? An idea to share with the audience that we can maybe implement in our life? Just tidbit of other side information, inside information, whatever.
Yeah. If I had to narrow it down to one little thing that's most important to me right now is remember this is just a dream. And so if you can see where you're holding on to anger, resentment, you're frustrated at somebody in your life, to remember, like, if I were in your dream last night, say, Keith, you called me up, you're like, Nicole, you were in my dream last night. You were so mean. You were yelling at me. You pushed me. It was the craziest dream. You're not going to be mad at me in real life because you realize it was just a dream that you created. So that was just you creating me in your dream. This life is just a dream. So even the most annoying people in your life right now who are really, breaking your heart or frustrating you, you're creating them. And so it helps you soften into a space of loving them because it's your own dream that you're creating in order to have self-reflection, self-awareness, and grow from it. So love, as cheesy as it sounds, is the answer to everything. Whatever is annoying you the most or the people you dislike the most, if you can love them, that's really the answer. When you get into a space of love, it raises your vibration. And together, the more we all go into love instead of separation or anger or polarity, the more we can unify and love. We literally raise the vibration of this planet from 3D to 5D. And all those terrible things, anger, frustration, coronavirus, doesn't exist in those higher vibrations. They can only exist low. So instead of wanting to take it down or get rid of it, send love to it so we can all raise together, and then we live in a space where none of that even exists. Love is the answer.
So many years ago, I'm driving in the car, and this presence came upon me, and it was a fairy by the name of Fabriska. And she said that I called to her, and I'd been calling to her even on a level that I wasn't consciously aware of. And she brought me to this space called Grace. I asked her about this thing called the pink bubble universe, and she said, oh, mind you, it very much exists. It's the space that we would call Christ. And what Nicole said that really got my attention, she described this pink bubble universe. If you have all your concerns, you put your concerns and your woes in these pink bubbles, and they're wrapped up nice, like a beautiful little package, almost like a brand new baby sister being born kind of feeling, energy, and it's pink. It's just simply pink. It's subtle, it's delicate, but mind you, it's very, very cosmically powerful. It's definitely more powerful than force. Everyone, thank you very much for joining here on Center of Light Radio. I'm still kind of bouncing around from the electricity going off, and I got a brand new fresh kitty, and she keeps me on my toes. Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio. I'm going to take a week off. I'm going to go see my dad in South Louisiana and eat me some Cajun food and have me a really good time. Remember, no matter what you think about anything, you are simply loved beyond measure. Peace, love, and light.